Welcome to another review from the Four Corners of the Board with your host, Graeme Anderson. Hello everyone, this is Graeme Anderson from Four Corners of the Board. Today I'm going to be looking at No Siesta, the dice version of a larger game called Granja. Now I really enjoy the game Granja, but I'm always a little leery about dice versions of games, and I find that they usually leave me a little flat. But when I read through the rules, it reminded me of a dice game I really do enjoy, called Roll Through the Ages, the Bronze Age. So, does No Siesta stack up? Let's get to the table, see how it's played, and I'll come back for my final thoughts. So here we have No Siesta all set up. Now each player will get a resource board. They're going to get 4 resource tokens, and they're going to have one of their markers on the Siesta track, and the rest of their tokens are going to be off in a common pool. Each player will also be receiving 6 of worker tiles. Now this is just the basic game I'm going through. There is a slightly more advanced game where each player does not start off with their own workers. All the workers are kind of put in a pool that people can draw from. Lastly, there will be 2 dice for every player plus 1 additional. So in a 3-player game, which this is, there are 7 dice. And whoever is the first player will be taking the 7 dice and rolling them. And again, starting with the first player, they're going to be taking one of the resources from these dice. So normally you would just take one single resource, but here I've rolled a olive and a wheat, and I'm not sure you can see that, but that just means I can actually take both of those resources. So I'd place the die next to me and put one of my resource discs on each one. Next player will take a donkey, mark it on the resource. The last player will take a pig. Comes back around to the first player. They're going to take all the remaining dice again, and they're going to re-roll them. And again, go through the same process. They're going to take a grape this time. This person is going to take the wheat and olive and mark it in both. And the last person is going to take a hat. Comes back around to the first player. There's 1 die left. They're going to roll it, and everybody will get what's on that die. And I've rolled a donkey. So everyone will get to place the resource cube or circle on the donkey. Once everybody has selected die, you then go into the next phase. Next phase is to mark your resources off on your little player board here. Now the game does come with pencils, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be filling off the little circles to try and complete the different areas on the board. Now it's kind of split up to different sections. You have the roof tile section, you have the worker section, you have the barn and stable section, you have the foreign market section, and you have the market delivery section. Wherever there are arrows, you must fill it in from the left to the right. So the tiles here, your barn and stables, and the deliveries must be filled from the left to the right. There are 3 separate rows here, so they can all be worked on independently, but they all must start from the left and work right, except for the donkeys. The donkeys you can kind of fill in whatever order you want. And completing a section on any of these areas will give you a bonus. So if you're able to get 2 gold here, or 2 silver here I should say, then you get to take one of these roof tiles. You're going to take it at random, and you're just going to flip it over and add it to your section. Now these can be things like this, which is a resource you can use, and so one-time use. Once you've used it, you're just going to flip it over, but leave it on your board because it'll be worth points at the end of the game. There are other things like double resources or kind of special actions you can do. If you fill in one of your worker squares, so let's say you get a pig and a wheat. Now this doesn't have to be on the same roll. You can fill them in kind of sporadically, however you see fit. If you ever fill in one of these squares, when you do, you're going to be taking one of your worker tiles, and you get to pick which one, and that now becomes kind of a permanent ongoing action that you're going to be getting. If you have any any resources left over, you can always put them in your barn and stable, and they'll be worth points at the end of the game for each triplet or pair that you have. The foreign market, if you ever ship off 3 of one of the goods, you're going to, again, mark it off, and you're going to get that little crate, which is a commodity. Now, those commodities are special because they're wild, and you can keep one commodity from round to round. You're going to lose all your other resources, except if you have one commodity. They can be used in subsequent rounds. Again, once you've used them, they take them off your resource board. And finally, the shipment here. Again, once you've filled in all the circles and you have a donkey, you can ship. If you're the first person to go to market, you're going to get the higher value here. all other players who make the deliveries are going to get the lower value. And when you make when you make a delivery, you get to take one of your resource markers from your pool and place it on the end of game scoring here. So let's say I'm going after roof tiles, I can place my marker there. That also means, though, since I've made the delivery, I'm actually down one pool marker here, one resource marker. So when everybody has marked off their boards and taken the actions for filling off any of the squares, you lose any resources on your resource board that have not been used, and this first player moves to the next player, and you're going to re-roll. Now, the one thing I did not mention yet is the hats. So the hats are a special case. They are used for some of the circles on your board, but they're also used to move your marker from the bottom to the top. Now, for every hat, you can move your marker one spot. If you ever land on one of these plus symbols or past the plus symbol, you will get another thing from your common pool, and you're going to be adding it to your resource pool. So now I actually have, even though I placed one here, I'm now back up to 4 resources I can have on my board. The game will end when someone lands on the final spot on the Siesta track. As soon as that happens, the round will end, and then everyone will count up their points. You're going to look at your player board, you're going to look at all the things that are completed here, you're going to add up all your points, you're going to add up your points from any end of game bonuses you have, you're going to add 1 point for where you are on the Siesta track, so you get 1 point for every hat that you're on or past, then whoever has the most points is the winner of No Siesta. So let's get back to see what I thought. So, where does No Siesta fall for me? Well, actually, I quite enjoyed this game. It feels enough like the original game La Granja, but it's still different enough to be its own game, and you don't require any knowledge of the original game to enjoy this game. Now, there's a lot of things I like about this game, and only one minor quibble that I have with the game, and that is that you have to sticker your own dice. But once that's done, the rest of the game is fine. And again, it's just a minor quibble, and that's just something personal I don't like to do. Now, the gameplay mechanics themselves are very interesting. I love the dice rolling mechanism, that you roll the dice and everyone drafts 1 die, and then you roll the remaining, everybody drafts another die, and then you roll the final die. And everybody's engaged in all stages of this dice rolling because everybody needs to know what they're going to be getting. I like the disc resource management, that you only start off with a limited number, and you want to be some of the first people to put your discs on the end of game scoring track because, you know, only so many people can put their discs on each one. But that reduces the number of resource discs you can use to get the resources during the dice rolling. So you want to move up on the Siesta track, but the more you move up on the Siesta track, it can unlock more resource discs, but it also makes the game ending approach quicker, which is another thing I really like. That Siesta track of opening up more discs, but at the same time making the end of game closer is a very interesting mechanism. I love games where players control when the game ends. You know, do you kind of race through the Siesta track, or do you kind of take it easy and kind of gather more resources as you go along to try and get a better score at the end? I've seen it played both ways. I've seen people racing to the end, and also people that like it kind of slow and steady and very slowly build up the resources and then kind of get more resource discs and get the end of game scoring. I like that you have the workers, which will change the way you use your resources, or the different ways you can use them to affect the different areas of your little player card. I like the roof tiles that are random, that usually give you some benefit, like 1 or 2 resources, or maybe a one-time action, or even just bonus points at the end of the game. There's a lot of different things I really like about this game, which is why, for me, this gets a great rating. I really, really enjoyed No Siesta. Does it replace the Granja for me? You know what? It's pretty close. If I want something that's short, that's still strategic, this is definitely a game I'm going to be going towards. It's more fulfilling than just like a filler game, but it's also not it's not an hour and a half to 2 hour game. So it gives you a good amount of strategy with a good amount of randomness, which is why I really enjoyed this game. So that's No Siesta. But as always, thanks for watching. Thank you for watching another review from the Four Corners of the Board. Please like and subscribe to these videos. You can also follow us on social media, email us directly, or check out our website at fourcornersoftheboard.com.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool Stuff, in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.